All right, everyone. This is your host, Cameron of Get a Load of This Trucking Podcast. Today is going to be amazing. I got a good buddy of mine coming on, and we are talking. It's money talks. That's what we're going to talk about is money, which is a big deal to everybody. I don't care who you are. So it's going to be awesome. And it's live today, so we might get some jackhammer noise in the background just to add some sound effects for y'all. So if you hear that, that's what that is. Not a big deal. So today I've got a special co-host with me, Ryan Young. He's a producer over with me at Valley Trucking Insurance, and as always, this is driven by Valley Trucking Insurance since I'm the owner. But Ryan, what's happening, man?
Not much, man. How's everybody doing this morning? I got my coffee. I don't have a jackhammer in the background, so life is decent.
Yeah, you're also on like the 18th floor of your building too, so it probably wouldn't affect you much. So there's that.
Oh, it's loud up here, I promise.
Yeah, that's true. And then today's guest, our special guest, we've got Mr. Erik Garcia. Erik Garcia is a buddy of mine who I've known and actually have followed too on social and puts out a ton of content via video, podcast, and everything to do with money, which is what this is about. So Erik, welcome. How are you?
What's up, man? Money. Either everyone started running already, or they're like leaning in. It's one or the other. I don't think there's many like, oh, money. I can just casual listen about money. It's either people are they're either triggered, man, or they're engaged.
Yeah, I feel that. Well, and I think if you're driving for a living, you're driving towards money. That's what they're doing, right? And it's a lifestyle too. But that's what we're going to talk about and dive into at some point is lifestyle. How do we get a better lifestyle with money, and how do we make that work for you? So
you know what's funny, man?
Sweet, man.
With money sometimes it's interesting. Money oftentimes is more of a taboo to talk about with people than sex. Crazy. All right, all your listeners who are falling away, just brought them back in right there.
Yes.
Exactly.
And if they're driving, they just woke up a little bit. Pay attention. It'll be good.
Can I say sex on your podcast?
Heck yeah. This is a trucking podcast, man. We can go all over the place. So let's dive in. Tell them a little bit about yourself. Tell them who you represent, what you do, how long you've been doing it, and let's give a high-level view of you.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, man. Well, I appreciate you having me on your show, dude. Like, it's an honor. It's always fun just to hang out with you, but also to come and chat for truckers. I mean, y'all listen and y'all make the world go round. And if no one believes that, they need to be looking at the supply chain issues right now and the fact that we can't get product to stores. And I went to go buy beets right before I went on a trip a month ago, and there were none there because we can't get the product to the shelves. So y'all know that I'm out there speaking very highly of truckers and the work that y'all do. And most Americans don't know if it wasn't for y'all, we would be hungry and we wouldn't have cool stuff. So out there repping y'all. So I am a certified financial planner. I've had that designation for about 5 years. What that means is when I work with clients, I act as a fiduciary for them. Fiduciary is a super fancy word for saying that I have to give my clients recommendations and advice that is in their best interest. Okay. Now you're thinking, well, there's financial guys out there that don't have to do that. The fiduciary standard is the highest standard that we have as financial people that we abide by. Not everyone has that standard. So I'm a certified financial planner. I've been in the financial services space for about a little more than 20 years now. Started off doing life insurance, 2004. Kind of started focusing in more on the investment side. 2008, I went independent as an investment advisor, and then started doing financial planning in 2011, 2012. So for a second here, most people think of financial advisors as the guy who's going to help me save for retirement. I'm going to go buy a mutual fund or invest my money with them. That is traditionally what financial advisors do, right? Pretty straightforward. Maybe you buy life insurance from them. The planning side, it takes a little bit step back and says, wait, Cameron, you want to plan for retirement, but like you got all this debt over here and you're trying to save for your kids' college, and you own a business and you don't have any wills in place. All this stuff is really important. So let's take a step back and let's set a chart, really a plan for where you need to go, where you are now and where you want to go, and make sure that what you're doing with your money is consistent with where you're trying to go. Now, that's kind of real high level. Now, for me right now, the majority of the work that I do is investment management. Obviously, investments are a big part of the financial planning process. A growing part of the practice is financial planning consulting, where some of my clients will come to me just for the plan. Most of the time we're investing money for them, but I've got clients that we just do planning for, kind of set that strategy, figure out what's most important to you, Cameron, and make sure that you're making those decisions with your money that are going to get you to where it's like a trucker, right? Imagine if I'm in New Orleans, all right? So you call me up and you're like, Eric, can you ship me some crawfish? I want to have a crawfish boil. Okay. So I go hire a trucker. Yeah. What's that? You want some?
Oh, I said, hell yeah. Let's do that.
Look, I hire a trucker and say, I got to ship this crawfish. Well, where's it going to go? To Cameron. They don't know where to go. Right. And that's how people are with their money. Like, I've got money, and what's it for? I got to save it for retirement. And that's all the direction a lot of people have. But beyond that, no one has stopped long enough to figure out, okay, what does it actually look like? Where do I even put it? Like, chart that course. Now, I remember as a kid when we were going on vacation, we'd go to AAA, right? Y'all remember AAA? You're probably too young for that.
Oh yeah.
This is before Google Maps.
That's the kids play. Is that the kids play deal there, or what is that?
No, man, this is the membership place, right? You'd go and
like
your
the
car
towing.
breaks
That's
down,
the
they
old
come
person.
change your
Yeah, the old person thing. Once you're like 55, you get AAA. Yeah. No, we got the towing thing. Yeah, they're around.
So no, you'd go to like the physical retail place, right? And you're like, hey, we're going on a trip to Tennessee, right? And they would pull out the Tennessee map. They would pull out the Louisiana map. They would pull out the Mississippi map, and you literally had 3 maps. And they would take a highlighter and they would chart your way. Like, all right, so in Louisiana, you're going to take this highway to here. Then once you hit Mississippi, you got to pull out the other map, right? Or Alabama, whatever state. So you had like 3 or 4 maps,
exactly.
And they charted the way. So that's what planning is. We are saying, hey, where do you want to go? Okay, why is it important for you to go there? And let's make sure we're on the right track to get there. And money is the vehicle that's going to get you there.
Love that. Absolutely love that. Yeah, and the old school truckers are all about maps, but to be honest with you, most of those old boys, they just know the layout, where they're going, all the back roads. They don't need a map, half of them. Now we got GPS and all kind of electronic guidance and stuff like that. But before we dive down any more rabbit holes on that, our listeners are accustomed to getting a trucking specific question. Since we are centric around trucking and deal with truckers, what would your CB handle name be, Mr. Eric?
Oh man, I prepared for this because I didn't want to show up and not know what to say here. All right, Ice Cuba.
Love it.
Ice Cuba.
Explanation.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna need a little explanation on the Cuba. What's going on here?
So my family, both of my parents are from Cuba. I was born here. And when I was in high school, for some reason, we all, that was kind of in the mid 90s. And we were all just listening to hip hop and rap. And that was just kind of our gangster name. So buddy of mine.
And I feel like I saw a picture of you, Eric, that looked, it looked like a 90s gangster picture at some point on social media, if I recall.
That was badass. That was my first passport. I was 16. I had a shaved head. I had a goatee. I had like this goatee that could barely grow hair. It's kind of like that peach fuzz.
Yeah. Now I'm working on a beard, but it's not a beard. It just grows like that. So it's
that's good, man.
Yeah, we're here. Man, that's awesome. And I want to dive in. So money, like you said, either people run or they start to listen. But if you are smart, and school didn't teach us anything about money. My parents didn't teach me much about money because I grew up, pretty poor, and I just didn't have a good influence or really role model or example there. So everything I've learned thus far is by making mistakes myself, listening to people that I probably shouldn't listen to, following the herd, because now it's like, hey, go invest in AMC or like crypto and all this kind of stuff. I don't know what I'm doing, but it sounds exciting. So like, should I throw my money away? Probably not. There's a lot better ways to do all that kind of stuff. And so now I listen to people like you, and it's like, oh, that makes sense. This is a smart dude. He knows what he's doing. What's he doing with his money? I want to do what they do. You know, that's the kind of people that I try to follow that are just giving sound advice and stuff. So for the folks listening, right now is a really good time in trucking. We're finishing up fourth quarter. By the time this rolls out, it'll be going into the new year. We've had great rates. We've had a ton of freight moving. You know, there is some logistics issues and supply chain stuff that are coming through. You know, there's a couple sides of the fence on what's causing it, so we won't unpack or dive down that road too far. But, you know, let's start with just a couple solid strategies. And like, if someone listening's like, you know, I've been thinking about making a plan, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go, you know, my truck might break down, I need money for that, or I'm working to retire. Most people have that thought process. Let's start diving down some of those roads.
Oh man, so much. So I think what I'm gonna do is
Take one.
take
I was
one.
gonna say pick a road. Yeah.
Take one. So let me start maybe real basic. All right, and then we can kind of like unpack this as we go along and figure it out. I do think operating a business is not much different than operating kind of like household finances. Okay, it's very similar, right? In the business, you have revenue, right? In your personal household, you have salary, or however you take your money, however you pay yourself, however you're organized, right? Your money comes into your bank account because you pay it, you draw it from the business. So revenue, salary, you have expenses on the business end. I imagine the expenses on the trucking side are probably pretty big, pretty high. And I got to imagine you have some pretty big shock expenses, like, holy crap, I got to fix, I don't know, a tire. I got to imagine a freaking tire is like, I don't know, a crap ton of money. Just one tire.
Tires are expensive. The big ones, though, that are overhauls of engines, you know,
Yeah,
something like that, you're talking 20, 30, 40,000
it's a huge number,
to buy,
right?
you know.
We have
Yeah,
that on the
big number.
personal. We have that on the personal side, right? The emergency fund. I call it the oh crap account, right? You want to have, you want to have money for those oh crap situations that come up. So kind of as I talk, I think that the lessons that I'm talking about, or the strategies that I'm talking about, are applicable, I think, on the business side as well on the personal side. Just the vernacular you use is going to be very different, and the dollar amounts may vary. Okay, so first thing I want to talk about, like, 3 things that you need to do. If you do these 3 things, there's a really good chance that you're going to have financial success. All right, number 1, don't spend all that you make. Real simple. It's a simple rule. Like, if I make $100,000 and I spend $100,000, how much do I have to save? 0. Well, what if I make $100,000 and I spend 110? What just happened? We call that
Balling on a budget, baby.
we call that debt. We call that debt. That's not that's the opposite. That's like the antithesis. That's like the villain of building wealth. Okay, so we want to spend less than we make. If I make 100,000 and I can live on 90, that means I've got 10,000 to do something with, to fund my goals, to fund my dreams, to fund my objectives, whatever that is. Okay, so number 1, spend less than you make. Number 2, save as much as you can. Real simple, right? If I have a goal, maybe I want to buy a vacation house on the beach, right? Cameron, you want 10 sacks of crawfish delivered to you in the springtime, right? That's a goal that you have. Well, you have to save for it. The only way you can save for it is if you spend less than you make. So number 1, spend less than you make. Number 2, save as much as you can. Forget about where do I save it. Don't even get confused in that part right now. We're just talking about very high level. Just save it, right? Put it aside for future use. And then the last one, and honestly, this is the one that gets most people in trouble. All right? Don't do anything stupid with your money. People do stupid stuff with their money.
Let's
all
define
day
your
long.
definition of stupid, because they might differ.
That's not for me to define. Like, I think good financial planning understands and recognizes the client's value. Like your value won't be my value, and I'm not going to project on you my value. Like you hear it all the time, right? Oh, you spend so much money at Starbucks. I don't know. I was talking to a friend this morning, and he's like, "Man, I was going to the corner store. We call them corner store here, the convenience store. I think y'all call them. I was going to the convenience store and I was buying.
We got corner store.
Okay. I was going to the corner store and buying, a Coke, a corn dog, and gummy worms every day. Right? So like some people who they'll go to Starbucks and they'll buy a venti mega vanilla latte with whipped cream, 3 pumps of sugar, vanilla, and I don't know, 6 shots of espresso. If you can't order coffee in 3 words or less, don't order it. For the record. Right. So like, what's like? I don't. When I go to the coffee shop, I buy black iced coffee. That's it. It's $2.50. I probably buy more than I need to. Some people would say, well, that's a waste of money. Well, I like coffee. I'd rather cut somewhere else, right? Some people want to spend their money on, whatever. I don't. What's stupid is a little bit relative. There are some things that are stupid. So it's stupid to, if you have credit card debt, it's pretty stupid to go buy something that you don't need. If you're paying 25%, that's. Let me soften it. Let me soften it and not say stupid. Let me say foolish. That's a foolish purchase if you're in credit card debt. If you're sitting here telling me that you really value education and you really value your kids' education and you want to give them opportunities that you didn't have, and you're out there driving a $60,000, $70,000 car, that's a foolish decision because that does not align. Either you're lying about what's important to you, or you're just making a really poor decision with your money. So stupid is super relative. But if you get those 3 things right, spend less than you make, save as much as you can, and then don't do anything foolish with your money, you're on your way to financial security. I'm not gonna say you're on your way to millionaire status. You're not on your maybe not, but you're on your way to being as financially secure as you can be. So the financially successful people don't necessarily make more money than you or me or than somebody else. That doesn't make you successful. Just because you make a lot of money doesn't make you financially successful. The successful people convert their income to wealth. Listen to that. They convert income into wealth. Anybody who is what you would consider a millionaire or who is financially successful, they've converted income into wealth. You can make $60,000 a year and be really good at converting that to wealth. You can make $250,000 a year and be terrible at converting it to wealth.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
I had a client once. They between him and his wife, they made over $250,000 a year. Good, decent wage, right? You could do stuff with $250,000 a year. Their debt service was over $12,000 a month. That's their debt service, just paying their debt. They haven't eaten yet. They haven't gone on vacation yet. They haven't paid. They haven't. I don't know. Bought their Starbucks yet. This is just paying for debt because of foolish decisions that they had made. About 2,200 of that were 2 car payments.
Yeah.
So
that sounds about right.
Income doesn't drive wealth. So the key to building wealth isn't necessarily making more money. Obviously, if you make more money, it's easier to build more wealth. The key to building wealth is spending less than you make and saving as much as you can and not doing anything foolish with your money, no matter what income you make.
Right.
One word comes to mind there for me too is in any aspect of life is discipline. Right. Discipline will drive all 3 of those different areas, and you can't be impulsive and go buy that car or buy the second car or whatever, and like you said, actions speak louder than words. So what they come in and tell you is important, but then you look at what they're actually doing, it tells a different story, and it'll tell the true story about what the motivations are. But I would look at you as someone like a personal trainer, right? So people know what they need to do. They know they need to work out. They know they need to eat right, but they're lack of discipline or their impulsiveness leads them down an astray to, yeah, I'm not going to work out today. I'm not feeling it. Or, I'm going to go out and I'm going to have a beer and fries, instead of ordering a salad and, a diet soda or what do y'all call it down there in New Orleans?
Coke.
Soda or pop?
Everything Coke.
Coke.
Everything's Coke.
Everything's Coke. Flavored Coke. What kind of hey, I want a root beer flavored Coke. How do you order that?
Not root beer
Yours is
flavored.
root
You'd order.
I'm just joking. I'm
You
just
order
joking.
like I don't know, Barks. I don't know. I don't drink root beer, so there's a local company here. It's actually a brewery, but they make
Okay.
they make root beer.
Yeah.
But you order a Coke and like what kind of Coke? I'll take a Sprite.
Yeah. No, so pretty much the name of it. One thing I noticed though about traveling down south and southeast area, you guys aren't as big on coffee as we are up in the Northwest, man. I can drive a block in every direction and I've got a coffee shop, small mom and pop coffee shops, coffee stands. And then you guys have Dunkin' Donuts. And then I think at a hotel, if you're in a city, it's like, okay, there's a Starbucks, but I went to try to find like a coffee stand and it's like, man, I got to drive so far to find some of these.
New Orleans is a little bit. It's kind of not really part of the South.
Yeah.
It's kind of its own unique city.
I think with the French influence, there's probably a little bit more coffee influence there would be my guess.
I like to say New Orleans, we're the northernmost Caribbean port. So we're a little bit third world, right? We're more Caribbean than we are, American. Sometimes it feels, especially with the holes in the street, or the food we eat.
No, that's great. How's the port doing down there? I know on the West Coast, California's obviously making news for the issues with the ports going into the holidays. Everyone's freaking out. But I know Texas opened up quite a bit. Florida opened up quite a bit. I don't hear New Orleans much out of that conversation, though.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you, man. I don't know. I'd be making it. I haven't heard anything, so I think things are going well. I mean, the port. I mean, we're one of the biggest ports.
Yeah.
I mean, we got us, and then we got Houston or Galveston, a little further west than us.
Yeah.
But I think things are fine here. I'm not real sure.
No, that's good. I just figured I'd ask, but so let's go down and let's chat about the three items that you mentioned, the key pieces of advice. So let's say you've got a new customer or potential client, somebody that wants to reach out, which I'm hoping that people take action and actually do reach out. We'll give you some tools to connect here in a few. What does that process look like? Where do you start? Because I know from what you've just said, you really try to figure out what their unique situation is, their plan, what their goals are, and work with them on what is important to them. Because what you think might be foolish might not be foolish for this person based on what they've got going. So let's start at the beginning.
Oh, so like the client journey, is that kind of what you're or the
Perfect.
Yeah. So I think this is applicable if anyone listening, if they work with the financial advisor, if they're engaging a financial advisor, me or anyone, it doesn't matter. I think what's really important is I think hiring someone who's acting as a fiduciary is incredibly important. This is not financial planning is not a product sale. Okay, I want to be careful how I say this because selling is a noble. It's a noble business. We need to sell stuff, right? Y'all are hauling stuff for people to sell, but financial planning is different. I'm not selling you a product. I'm not selling you a service. I'm like helping you chart your freaking future, man. So you better feel that you connect with your financial advisor. I mean, you start talking about money, and I joked earlier about if everyone hasn't run yet, or they're either leaning in, because money does evoke just crazy emotions in people, man. I did a podcast, I did a show, we've wrapped it up. I still do a lot of collaborative work with a couples counselor. Okay. And we started working together about 10 years ago. He's a good buddy of mine. He came to me and he said, "Hey, I was working with this couple and I think their issue was a financial issue." And we talked it through and realized oh my gosh, there's a lot of overlap between what you're doing and what I'm doing. The problem is the therapists aren't trained in money, and I'm not trained in counseling, But when we started collaborating, we realized that, man, there's a lot of emotion tied to money, right? There's different
Absolutely.
types of people talk about in this space, like in the behavioral finance space, and this is probably something that sets me apart, Cameron and Ryan, from other planners and other advisors, that I'm really interested, like in the behavior side of money. Like, why are you making these decisions? Like that, to me, that's really important. If I can understand that, then man, I can advise the heck out of you, and point you in
Right.
a really good direction. So you really want your advisor or your planner to to understand you. Like, I want to
Right.
know why. And one of the first questions I ask people who reach out to me is, "Hey, what drove you to reach out to me? Like, why? Why are you even wanting to hire me?" Because that's typically like the place that we start planning. So there's obviously things that a planner is going to do. They're going to ask a lot of questions, because if I'm working with you, I got to know a lot about your life. I got to know a lot about your finances. Do you have kids? Do you want them to go to school? Is it important for you to pay for them to go to school? Are you going to possibly inherit money in 10 years? You own a small business. Do you carry a lot of extra cash in your small business? Like, those are a lot of really important things to understand. So there's a there's a commitment that you have to make when you're hiring an advisor or a financial planner, that you're gonna have to share things. And look, people do things with their money that they're ashamed of. It's I hear things from clients that have been clients for 6 months or a year, like, oh, hey, I've got this other account and I never told you about it. So there's a level of vulnerability. If you're gonna hire someone to help you get to where you go, you're gonna have to be a little bit vulnerable with them. So kind of step one is just that, is interview people, pick the right person. Don't just go down to the corner just because Charlie's been in my town for 30 years. That's who I want to hire. Well, Charlie might not understand you. Charlie might just want to project his value on you. So interview people, ask questions. Hey, are you a fiduciary? What's your thought on, I don't know, ask, questions about the economy. Like make sure that they can speak. Like, if you're hiring someone, like, hey, even if you don't know what you're asking, hey, talk to me about inflation. That person needs to be able to talk to you in a language that you can understand and break things down for you so that you can understand. Like, I don't just want to tell you what to do. I want to equip and empower you and teach you to learn how to make the decisions that you need to make, because you're capable. We're all capable of doing it. Um, and a lot of client, you talked about discipline. Most people don't have the self discipline. You're absolutely right. Most people don't
Right.
have the self discipline. I've
Yeah,
got
that's the hardest thing I've got to deal with is discipline and accountability, self accountability myself.
Now check this out.
So I think we're all vulnerable there.
Now check this out. You know what you need to do, right?
Yeah.
If I say, Cameron, you need to spend less. All right, don't say it. I don't want you to spill the beans here, but you probably already have a list of 3 or 4 things that you know of that, yeah, I could probably cut that. Yeah, I probably overspent that. I could probably be a little bit better here, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
So everyone,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
let's play this game. Okay, let's play this game. So
Let's do it.
y'all are
I'm
driving.
in.
Keep your eyes on the road, people. I'm not going to ask you to close your eyes, but you can imagine with your eyes open, right? You're professionals. All right, Cameron. Think of the person that you have the most respect for, like living or dead. Like, this is the person I absolutely want.
Got it.
You got it. I want to please this person. I want to make them happy. I want them to be proud of me. Okay. All right.
Yep.
Now, imagine everything you have, your business, your car, the income that you're earning, everything that you have belongs to them. And they said, Cameron, everything that I have is mine. Everything that I have is yours. Okay. You are in charge of it. You are the steward of all my resources. You can do what you want with it. Only one thing I'm going to ask of you. Once a year, you're going to sit down with me and you're going to show me how you spent the money and what you're doing with that money and defend
Open
it.
book accounting. Yeah.
Right? That's it. That's all I'm going to ask. That's all I'm going to ask. Does that change a little bit what you do with the money? This is the person that you want to please. This is the person you love and respect the most.
It would 100% change because I put myself in their shoes. And this is someone that lived through the Great Depression. And it's actually my grandmother. And I have a tremendous and immense amount of respect one of my role models and icons. But yeah, she will. She'll fix everything herself, and she comes from that era where she grew up with one dress.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's one of those things. So yeah, then now it makes me, this I think might be a barrier too for some folks to reach out, because I know, just like if I were to get a personal trainer, they're going to say, hey, you can't do this, this, and this to achieve what you're telling me you want to do. And like, I feel like it'd be like, oh shit, if I go talk to Erik, man, I'm going to have to sell my car. I'm going to have to do this. I'm going to have to figure that out. So like immediately I'm like you said, I'm kind of, I don't know if shameful, but it's like, man, I don't want to share that. Like I know I spent, you mentioned Starbucks. I stopped at and got a black coffee at Starbucks.
No, hold on. I'm not look, I'm not telling you to sell your car. I'm not judging you. None of that, man. It's all good. It's all good.
And I'm not saying that. I'm just saying hopefully the people can relate with that, because that's where I felt immediately when I put myself in those shoes. But I also know it's like, there's life, there's image to uphold. There's examples to set. So I'm a leader of a sales team. So I do certain things to motivate too, and motivate myself, because I know, hey, if I do this, it'll push me harder here. I know I need to be a good example for my daughters. I know that I need to be present and involved and coach their sports teams and be at every event. There's things that motivate me. That's where I think would be amazing, where, if you and I chat, that's what you're uncovering. And then you just basically say, oh, no, like you just did. It's okay. You're fine.
So you bring up a really good point.
You did that.
You bring up a really good point, okay? So you said, be at sporting events. I want to be present. Here's what I find the trouble with a lot of business. I say the trouble. This is both what makes us successful, because I own two businesses, okay? I'm 100% involved, obviously, in the financial side. And and Cameron, you and I know each other through the insurance space. I kind of grew up in the insurance world. So I've got a business partner who operates the independent insurance side. So I own two businesses, and I get it. And we want to make money. We're driven. We're entrepreneurial. But there's some competing things, right? Like, I want to make money. And the way to make money is, right, y'all out there driving your trucks. You make money when you're driving. So you're exchanging your time, your skill as a truck driver, your ability to meet deadlines and to chart and plan probably multiple stops, right? That's something that maybe sets you apart. So you have this skill and you're trading it for money, right? That's what we do, right? We exchange our knowledge, our ability, our what we know for money. That's how we earn it. But then there's this thing that's competing for that, for our time. We have families, right? I don't get paid to go home and cook dinner. I don't get paid when I'm coaching my kids' soccer team. Well, those are important things. Well, those are important things to you. And therefore you have two competing things. Your time is now held in tension. Man, I got bills to pay. And I know that if I'm not working, man, I'm not making money. But I also value time with my kid. So you're trying to balance these things. And how do you balance these things? So sometimes it may be, and this is how I see it personally for me in my life, and this is the conversations that I have with people, particularly in that kind of 35 to 50 stage of age, is life is starting to get complicated. I used to be able to do this on my own. I could figure it out all on my own. I probably could, but I don't have the time to, because my time is being pulled in 16 directions, and time is money. So now I got to start getting wise and exporting or delegating certain roles and responsibilities of my life to other people. You own a business. You lead a sales team. You've done that, right? Cameron doesn't need to be selling insurance 24/7 for Cameron to make money, because he's built a team around him. Maybe some of the people listening, maybe they've, what's the average fleet, trucking fleet? 5, 6, 7, 10 trucks?
Yeah, in the Western region, it's like 80 to 90% or less than 10 trucks. There's mega companies, obviously, with thousands, but the majority of folks are going to be your mom and pop or smaller organizations. So
you're a single truck driver. You only make money if you're driving. You own a fleet of 7 or 10 trucks. Now you start making money when other people are driving. So you have to start figuring things out. You talked about other streams of income. Here's what a lot of business owners, and this is, I learned this lesson early in my career. It was an estate attorney. It was a tax attorney. I was having dinner with him, and I was lamenting to him about a business partner that I had, a previous partner. And this is what he told me. He goes, Eric, you got to think of your role as owner in two capacities. Okay, the way you make money, right? So if you own your business, all right, you're the owner of the trucking company, you make money two ways, and it's really important to understand this. Number one, you make money as an employee. Take your owner hat off. You pay yourself to drive a truck to deliver product, to deliver the haul, the load, whatever it is. Okay. You build a website for marketing, right? You hire, you pay yourself to do those managerial roles. Okay. Now you say, well, I can't drive trucks anymore because I'm too busy doing other things. Well, you put your manager hat on, you hire someone, and you're now paying them. So now you don't pay yourself to drive a truck. You're paying someone else to drive the truck. So now you're paying yourself to manage, right? So you pay yourself a wage to work in the business as an employee. Now, put your hat back on. We all own businesses because we know the way to build wealth is through ownership. Well, how do owners make money? Not by raping the business and paying themselves more than they're worth, leaving the business without money to operate properly. Owners make money by making the business more effective, more efficient, by planning. The owners, you should know your numbers. You should know, and I don't know the metrics that truckers use, but I would imagine like cost per mile is probably one of them. Like you should know, what does it cost me to drive 1,315 miles? Okay, and it's this number per mile. How do I get that number down? If I can get that number down 10%, 15%, 20%, that leaves more margin, more profit for me as the owner. So owners make money by increasing, right, the profit. And it's really important to understand those two ways that you make money, because you start to look at your time different, how you spend your time. And you start to say, you know what, I can't sit here and make decisions and pick investments for my 401k or try to research, which investment should I pick out of 30, 40,000 investments out there. I don't have time to do that anymore. I need to start hiring people to do that for me or to help me do that, because my time is going to be more effective in going to a conference to learn the latest software, the latest technology, to be able to cut my expenses, increase productivity, so that I can now start making money as a business owner.
Yeah. And with owner operators, you had mentioned converting to the 5, 6, 7 trucks. There's like an apex point, and a lot of folks go into debt buying their truck, leasing a trailer, leasing their truck. A lot of folks don't have enough income to float the month or 2 months it takes for them to get paid on a load. So they'll use what's called a factoring company, and the factoring companies take 3% of their money just to pay them now, because they need money to pay for fuel. And you can get fuel cards, but those bills come due monthly. Insurance is expensive. Maintenance, wear and tear, tires, you mentioned earlier, is expensive. And so there is a tipping point where I think smart business owners, and you need to think this through, I think, going into your business plan anyway, is have as much cash on hand to operate the first couple years, so you don't have to pay 3% here, 2% there, get taxed here. I don't know what a lease percent is right now, but I imagine, these folks that don't qualify for traditional funding, they're paying a lot of interest on these trucks, man. It's, these are all things to think about. And this is why the planning aspect, even ahead of time for you opening a trucking company, or if you're in it, is you got to start planning now.
Yeah, man. And
right?
Here's the thing. One thing I talk about. So I talk about my 5 pillars of financial security. And number 3 is squash debt. So even these short-term loans, these kind of like, they're kind of like payday loans, really, is what they are. It's just a different name, but it's the same idea. They're high interest. You're 3%. You're giving up 3%. That's not interest per se, but that's a big number that you're probably giving up. And if you do the math, like, man, like either let me plan before I launch my business, let me plan for that and have enough put aside, or for the next 2 or 3 years, whatever that threshold is for me to drive to kind of like to start having enough clients to be making the money. Let me be as frugal as freaking possible, man. I'm going to do whatever it takes, and I'm going to grind for 2 or 3 years, and I'm going to make decisions today that I really don't want to make, but I'm making them with 3 years with that vision, right? And if I know that I'm going to have to do this for just 2 or 3 years and live super frugally for 2 or 3, whatever the number is, I'm using 2 or 3 years as the number, then man, I would freaking write that date on your wall. And every morning, I think you just did that crazy ass thing, hard 75, right?
75 hard.
75 hard.
75 hard challenge. Yeah.
Yeah. And you had a poster board. I think you
Yep.
posted, and you checked off your days, right? Did you 2 45-minute workouts a day, read 10 pages a day, all kinds of crazy stuff. And you had a physical
Yeah,
thing, and you
absolutely.
checked it off, and you could see those days go away. Man, I am a huge fan of writing. I love technology. I love digital. But man, when you write your goals out and you're able to see them every single day. So again, if you're a startup trucking company and you're trying to get off your feet, you're going to have to do hard work. And this is any business owner. You're going to have to do hard work for a season and know that it's for a season and prepare yourself for that season. And then know when that season ends. And then when that season ends, you're going to reap the benefit for just the grinding that you had to do. And that's planning.
Yeah, and they
it's
can be
strategic
proud and
planning.
feel good about that too.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, like anyone who's made it, think back to the day where you realized, it might not have been a day. It might have been like, oh my gosh, like I've just noticed that I have more money left over in my checking account. My lifestyle hasn't changed, and I just have more money. Like I can start saving more. I can start doing things that I want to plan for, right? And as a financial planner, sometimes we do that. Like sometimes it's like, okay, here's what we need to do for the next 2 years. And I've told people this, and I tell other advisors this, and like, how could you like tell someone not to do that? Like I tell people like you're over contributing to your retirement. Well, I'm supposed to save for my retirement, yeah, but you're putting all your free cash in a retirement account that you can't touch for 25, 30 years, and you're paying 25% interest on $30,000 of credit card loans. Like you're not advancing. You're actually going backwards. So for 2 years, let's redirect some of this money. Let's liquidate, let's squash this debt. And then in 2 years or 3 years, we'll switch back and then we'll start piling money away. Right? So these are the decisions that people need to make. Like, do I pay this or do I pay that? That's a lot of the advice that I give these days. Again, particularly because a lot of my clients, I do work with clients who are retired, who are retiring. We do a lot of that kind of, I'm retiring, I got a 401k, I'm rolling it over. But a lot of my planning clients, the people who are in the throes of life, like someone came to me once, this was a friend, and their lead to me was, Eric, I'm ready to start making adult decisions. Like life is getting busy and I'm ready to start adulting. Right. So that's helping people make those. What do I save? How do I save? Where do I save? What's a fair return on my money? What should I expect? Hey, I heard this like GameStop thing. Should I put a bunch of money in it? Well, maybe not. I don't know. It depends. Everyone, see, personal finances stopped being personal somewhere along the way. Personal finances are personal. They're different. What I do is going to be different than what you and Ryan do.
And I think a lot of truckers, it's a tight niche community. They're talking to each other. Hey, what are you doing? What are you investing in? How are you operating your business? Where are you putting your finances towards and things like that? And I think with that, it's great because you hear from your peers, other people in your situation that you can't necessarily talk to your family about because they don't understand what you actually are going through and what kind of level of finances you're at. But with that, it opens up a possibility of negative advice. Like you had just mentioned, hey, I'm throwing money in GameStop, or hey, AMC is going to take off. You know, you need to throw anything that you have in there. And like, yeah, it sometimes works out. Sometimes.
So let me just say this. Let me just say this, and I hope I don't offend anybody. And
I'm not plugging. I'm not trying to plug these, by the way. Just
no. Yes. I am for the regulators. I work in a highly regulated industry. So for any regulators out there, this is not a recommendation for any individual security.
Yes,
that's my disclaimer. Anybody, if I'm in an industry, okay, I want to network with other people in my industry on how to more effectively be a better truck driver or better insurance agency owner or a better finance. I'm in multiple mastermind groups, some specific to the insurance space with insurance owners and some specific to the financial advising space. Okay. So I want to understand, how can I become a better financial advisor? How can I become a better insurance agency owner? How can I become a better truck driving company business owner to become more effective and more efficient? That's where I go. Outside of that, that's what you go to conferences to learn your craft. If you come to me and say, "Hey, how can I become a better truck driving company owner?" I'm going to say, "Dude, I have no idea. I've never driven a truck. Now, if you come to me and say, "Hey, how can I become more effective as an insurance agency owner?" I know a little bit about that. I have a little bit of experience in that through my ownership in a company. When people start talking about things that they don't understand, it becomes very dangerous when you're giving advice without knowing people's values, without knowing what they're trying to do, without like, "Hey, where should I invest my money?" "Well, I'll invest in GameStop." "Well, I got $10,000 to invest. Should I invest in GameStop?" "Yeah, all the way." "Well, I also have $50,000 in credit card loan at 25%. That was the worst piece of advice. I don't care if GameStop goes through the moon. That's a risk that you probably shouldn't be taking. Now, when you're out of debt, then you can afford to start taking bigger risks. That's really important, is that I am not against speculation. I am not against risk taking. But you need to prepare yourself to be able to take that risk. And when you take the risk, you got to be able to say, if this $10,000 investment goes to zero, how am I feeling tomorrow morning? My wife is leaving me. My kids can't go to school anymore. Then don't do it. Right? It's going to hurt. It's going to suck. I'm going to feel terrible, but I can survive. Then maybe you do it.
Yeah. So have a good checklist of items that you can answer those questions, the hard questions, and if they answer yes, 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 or no, no, like you have a compass there to guide you.
Yeah,
is what I heard there.
But let me go back to the kind of circle back around to those three things to be financially successful, because I want to leave your listeners with maybe some tangible or some practical things, kind of I would say fall under that umbrella. Okay, so
let's go.
Spend less than you make. It's pretty simple to say that. It's really hard to do. Okay. The best way to start is simply to become aware of how you spend your money. Like, you think you know how you spend your money, but what I want you to do is I want you to go print out 3 months of your credit card statement and your bank statement and actually start to look at where you're actually spending it. Add the number, spreadsheet it, put it on an Excel spreadsheet if you can. And start to add up, man, how much am I spending at Starbucks? I'm not saying don't do it, but just be aware of it. Man, how much do I spend in groceries? When I started doing this, I was like, oh my God, my grocery bill, holy crap. You would think I was 600 pounds. We spent so much at the freaking grocery. And then you're like, man, I'm buying a whole lot at Target or Walmart or Amazon. Like, what the hell am I even buying there? We don't know. So the first step is just simply become aware of how you spend your money. What I say is my pillar number 1 is know where your money's going and know where your money's at. All right. Now let me put a quick plug in here for what you do. Knowing where your money's at means knowing how much you have in your savings account, in your checking account, and your investment accounts. Understanding your insurance. Insurance represents money. You're driving down the highway, you get into an accident. You're calling Cameron because Cameron's got a $5 million, $10 million, $20 million umbrella policy for liability that you're gonna want if you need that money. So understanding your insurance is a part of knowing where your money is and where it's going. So understand your insurance policies, understand your health insurance, super important. And then know kind of, again, take an inventory of where all your investments are and where all your debts are. So making that inventory is super important. So
Hey, real quick on that, Eric, what's the best tool, short of like an Excel or like pen and pad, would you recommend that someone keep track of everything, like a dashboard view of their finances and assets and insurance and all that?
yeah, I would say for this exercise, for the initial exercise, man, I think a pad and paper is the best way to do it. Even though you can put it in Excel, the problem with digital stuff, it gives us the impression that we're actually doing something, but the computer's doing it for us. But when you're actually physically writing and making notes, there's I'm not that smart, but there's some like science behind when you actually write something. The likelihood of it actually remembering it, there's a connection made with your brain. So I think the initial part of this, if you can do it by hand, it's painful. I get it, but I think it's going to work. Beyond that, my clients, we have a tool that we use called eMoney where we can aggregate all of our clients' accounts and download them, and they can create budgets and categorize stuff. There's other free services out there. There's some paid services out there that they can use. But initially, man, do the hard work.
We'll let them dive into that when they call you to go through it. So let's keep going down the tangibles.
So know where your money is and where it's going. Make an inventory of all your stuff, right? Look, you're a business owner, you've probably gone to the bank for a loan and they ask for a personal financial statement. That's part of what we're doing here. It's your balance sheet, your net worth statement, all my assets and all my debts. Understand it, not just what your debt is, but understand the interest rates that you're paying on it. Understand what it's costing you, okay? So now that we know where our money's going and where it's at, we want to plan where we want it to go. Right, where do I want my money? This is budgeting. I'm not a big budgeter. In fact, I'm putting together a course right now that kind of teaches how I manage my cash, how I manage my cash flow, which is really what budgeting is. But you want to plan where you want your money to go. If it's important for you to pay off debt, then you're going to plan for more money to go to debt. If it's important for you to save for a vacation because you haven't taken one in 5 years because you've been grinding away at your business, you're going to plan to put your money there. If you want to retire at 55, then you're going to plan to put your money there. That's that very intentional, purposeful, and planning can be very, very specific to one thing or very broad, which involves multiple points of planning where you want your money to go. But conceptually, we want to plan where we want our money to go. Okay? So know where your money's going, where it's at, plan where you want your money to go. The third thing is squash debt. Debt is like the kryptonite to building wealth. Now, there's two types. I like to talk about two types of debt. You just talked about how expensive it is to start a trucking company. It's expensive to operate a business. Business debt that you're putting back into something, into an asset that is going to generate a return for you is acceptable, right? I'm going to go to the bank. I'm going to get a $25,000 line of credit because I want to hire a new staff person. I don't currently have the cash to do it, but I'm going to go borrow money from the bank, hire someone because it's going to free me up to do higher level revenue generating activities. That, if you got a plan around it, that's smart debt. Okay. I got to live somewhere. I don't want to pay someone else's mortgage. I want to pay my own. That's smart debt. It's collateralized by an asset. That makes sense. You got to buy a truck. I mean, trucks, I got to imagine I got a client who does buses, and I know buses are freaking expensive. So I can imagine trucks are up there as well. You're not going to cash
$150,000 easy for new truck.
Yeah, you're not going to write a check for that. You got to finance it. Okay, I'm buying something that's going to generate money for me. That debt makes sense. The debt that doesn't make sense is that credit card debt, the student loan debt, those kinds of things. Man, student loan debt to a certain degree. Okay, to a certain degree. And if anyone wants to talk about what that degree is, I'm happy to talk about it, but people graduating with $200,000 of student loan debt, working a $40,000 job makes zero sense. You're better off taking the money that you would have paid for college, buy a truck, right?
We need truck drivers. It's a good career.
Yeah, there's absolutely. Number 4, save for tomorrow. right? So the second thing that I talked about, save as much as you can, I'll talk about saving for tomorrow. Now, understand when I said save for tomorrow. Most advisors are going to say, Cameron, you need to save for when? Retirement. I'm saying save for tomorrow.
Retirement.
Yeah, save for tomorrow. Retirement's part of tomorrow. Your AC goes out in your house. Well, for me, if my AC goes out in August in New Orleans, it's going to suck really bad for a while. That might happen. I got to save for the potentiality of something like that happening. So saving for tomorrow means I'm saving for something very short term, like an emergency. I'm saving for something very long term, like retirement. But I'm also saving for something in the next 3 to 5 to 6 years. I don't know what, but maybe I want to buy another property. Maybe I want to get into the rental property space. So now I'm starting to save money, save for tomorrow, putting money aside for that very specific thing. All right? Make sense? And that's where I would say 75% of the work that I do is probably in that fourth pillar, save for tomorrow, right? Because we're dealing with, you're a small business owner. There's no company matching your 401k, buddy. You're the company, right? There's no one bringing to you your company benefits. It's up to you to decide. Man, is it better for me to do a 401k and then do a Roth 401k, or like there's this thing called a simple plan? What's that? Or like a SEP? Does that make sense for me? So that's part of saving for tomorrow is knowing where to locate. We call it asset location. Where am I putting not just what plan, but then once I have the plan, what am I investing in? Okay, that's save for tomorrow. And then the fifth pillar is give to others. Now this is not like a magical thing. Like if you give to someone, you're automatically going to be given more back in return. But if you are passionate about some cause, a nonprofit, a church, a charity, whatever it might be, and you're passionate and you understand, you're connected to that cause, and you understand the value of you giving $1 to that cause, the impact that it can have, it does something pretty crazy to your spending. You start to realize that, like, wait a minute, I just overspent, I don't know, about $20-30 over here, and man, that 20 or 30 bucks, I was reading somewhere like $20 buys like 400 mosquito nets in Africa. And one mosquito net in Africa saves the life of 5 kids because of malaria, right? And we're sitting over here, throwing money away on silly things. And I'm just using that as an example. But if you connect to a cause and you believe in it and you understand that, man, if I can get out of debt and start cash flowing positively, and even in the process of doing that, allocate a certain amount of money to something that I believe in, it's going to change, man. It's going to change how this is the same thing with those people who are like, I'm so committed to my kids getting a private school education that I'm going to eat peanut butter sandwiches for lunch. It's the same idea. I'm just talking about looking for a cause outside of you. It changes how you think about money. It makes you connect to what money can actually do. It's not just about you having an easy life and enjoying life. That's important. We work hard. We should reward ourselves as business owners. I'm all for that. But giving is kind of one of those things. It's a pretty universal human value. There's probably no one in your circle of friends that you like that doesn't give. They might not talk about it. I'm not saying I'm one of those people who I don't think you should go brag about, I did this or I did that. But like most people you surround yourself with are probably giving people and would jump at an opportunity to divert some of their income to support that. So those are the 5 pillars, man. I think if you're doing that stuff, if you know where your money's at and where it's going, you plan where you want it to go, you're squashing debt, you're saving for tomorrow, and you're giving to others, man, like you're on your way to financial security. 100%.
All right.
That's so amazing. That I'm going to take and utilize a lot of those and implement those in my personal strategy. I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm doing it on some level, but not at the degree that I need to be. And it's funny, you plan for tomorrow, you need to have, I guess, some ability to project and like you said, hey, you want to retire at 55. Where are you at now? What's it going to take to get there? Because I say that, business owners always say that, oh, I want to retire at 55. It's like a common phrase. But do they know, can they retire at 55? Or what if they can retire at 45 because they didn't realize that?
Well, again,
who knows? You got to know where you're at.
Where are you sitting? Where are you at right now?
Where I want to retire?
No. Where are you? What city? What city?
Oh, Spokane, Washington.
Spokane,
Pacific
Washington. I
Northwest.
thought you were up in Washington. So I got to deliver
Yep.
10 sacks. You know, I'm delivering crawfish to Washington, man. You're going to throw a big old party. So you want enough to throw a party. You know, you want 20, 30-pound sacks of crawfish. All right. So I'm going to deliver it to Spokane. I'm really not. Don't wait for it. It's not coming. This is just an example. It's not going to happen, man. I'm going to deliver it to Spokane, Washington. Cool. Well, how much gas do I need? I don't know. Right? How much ice do I need to ice it down so they don't go bad on the way? I don't. You got to plan that stuff out. It's the same thing. I want to retire at 55. Cool. How much money do you need? I just want to retire at 55. Okay, I need $1 million. Is that the right number? Okay, let's say it's the right number. Well, how much do you need to start doing now to get there? Shit, I don't know. That's all part of the calculus. That's all part of the planning, and that's how far we get. We set the goal. If we get that far, we set the goal. We never set the steps that it's going to take to get to that goal.
Yeah, work backwards. Like you get the destination and then map how you get there.
Oh man,
pretty straightforward. Just like trucking.
I have a blog that's half baked right now. It's called Backwards Planning, and I never published it. I got to go back and dust it off, man, and finish it off. But Backwards Planning, that's what it is.
I think that's great. I want to plug another. So your podcast, where can the folks listen to your content and podcast? Because I know they're going to be so valuable of episodes, and you're going to go a lot deeper into a lot of different topics that I think are super important. So where do they find you?
Yeah, awesome. Go to if you go to stuffaboutmoney.com, stuffaboutmoney.com, just how it's you spell it, just how it sounds. That'll take you. This is our new show, actually. I wrapped up a show last year, kind of a COVID project. This year, well, depending on when you're listening to this is 2021. There's 60 other episodes of my previous podcast, Building Us. So you can go to like any podcast app and just put in Building Us. And that's the one that I did with the couples counselor. Real thoughtful. That show, we talked about the intersection of money and relationships to each other, to businesses, to our community. But the new show, Stuff About Money They Didn't Teach You in School, I'm doing it with a partner of mine, another financial advisor. And we're basically going to talk about stuff about money they didn't teach us in school. So we have a lot of guests line up, and these are super interesting people, experts in their field, and we're going to ask them, hey, what's something about money that they didn't teach you in school you wish they did, and how would your life have been different, or your career would have been different? And what we're going to do in conjunction with that, we're going to take some financial concept, okay, that they may or may not be an expert in. If they have an expertise in some financial topic, that's going to be the educational point. We're going to take you to school. So next week we're recording with the chief marketing strategist for the firm I'm with. He's also the CEO of one of the investment firms. This guy's on CNBC all the time, and he's coming on to talk about inflation. So we're going to ask this guy, hey man, what's one thing about money that you wish you would have learned in school? And let's talk about inflation. And we're going to talk about it in a way that makes sense to the average American, right? You don't have to be an economist to be part of these conversations, because inflation impacts us all. How does it impact us all? So
yeah, so everyone go give that a follow. That is going to be tremendously valuable to your resource and your education. And then for the folks that want to connect about financial planning, what's the way to connect there, and best way to contact you to set up a consultation?
Yeah, if you go to Stuff About Money, that sits on my website. My website is plan-wisely.com. Stuff About Money is a little bit easier to remember. So plan-wisely.com, Erik, E-R-I-K, at plan-wisely.com. There's a lot of content on there. There's a lot of opportunities for you to kind of get a little bit of a feel for how I do business. In the navigation, there's a place where you can download my ebook, the 5 pillars that I just talked about. So you can go actually download that and have it in paper or print it or read it digitally if you'd like. And there's also a tab that says Start Your Plan, that kind of, again, it walks you through a little bit of what does it look like, what are the topics that are discussed in financial planning. So you're able to take a few steps into the process to get a feel for what is it like to work with the planner.
Man, I love it. Everyone needs to go check that out. No doubt there's a ton of value in that. So, Erik, we're nearing the end of this. We appreciate your time so much. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing. I feel like we can keep going, and there could be like a whole nother hour or a couple hours to just deep dive everything in there. But it's a lot of info. So take a few items, actionable items out, implement, have some discipline, reach out to Erik. That's basically
Awesome.
the action there. So,
Definitely.
Erik, thank you. Appreciate you very
Yeah.
much. This concludes another episode of Get a Load of This, the trucking podcast where we want to be the number one resource and bring tremendous value to the trucking industry and truck drivers and trucking professionals. You can get a hold of us through the Facebook group. Get a Load of This is on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn, Cameron Pechia on LinkedIn. And if anything insurance, just go to valleytruckinginsurance.com and reach out to us if you got questions. We'd love to chat there. So, all right, we appreciate you. Thank you, listeners.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Erik.